ExamPrep.School. Alaska Personal Lines Insurance Producer Exam code INSECPers55 or OPPers55. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Laws, rules, and regulations. Laws, rules, and regulations. Property and casualty insurance terms and related concepts. Property and casualty policy provisions and contract law. Types of casualty policies. Types of property policies. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Under an HO2 named Perils Dwelling Policy, how is debris removal covered in relation to the Coverage A limit? A. Pays debris removal only up to the coverage, a limit with no extra amount. B. Pays up to an additional 5% of Coverage A if debris removal expense exceeds the Coverage A limit. C. Includes debris removal within Coverage A without any additional percentage. D. Limits debris removal to a fixed $1,000 sublimit. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is that the insurer pays up to an additional 5% of Coverage A if debris removal expenses exceed the Coverage A limit, since HO2 includes that specific additional coverage. Reason A is not correct. This is incorrect because HO2 provides a separate additional percentage beyond the dwelling limit once debris removal costs exceed the limit. Reason C is not correct. This is incorrect because HO2 explicitly allows an additional percentage for debris removal beyond Coverage A when expenses exceed the limit. Reason D is not correct. This is incorrect because HO2 specifies a percentage of Coverage A for debris removal, not a fixed dollar sublimit. Question 2. Under an HO3, Special Form Open Perils Dwelling policy, loss to shrubs, trees, and plants from windstorm or hail is limited to what per item amount? A. 10% of Coverage A per plant. B. 20% of Coverage A per plant. C. $1,000 per plant. D. $500 per plant. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is $500 per plant because the HO3 form restricts windstorm and hail damage to shrubs, trees, and plants to that per item limit. Reason A is not correct. This is incorrect because the limit is a fixed dollar amount per plant, not a percentage of Coverage A. Reason B is not correct. This is incorrect because HO3 does not provide a 20% per plant limit for plant damage. Reason C is not correct. This is incorrect because the per plant limit under HO3 is $500, not $1,000. Question 3. A tenant covered by an HO4 policy with $60,000 personal property coverage and a $2,500 sublimit for silverware suffers a theft loss of a sterling silver flatware set that originally cost $3,000 but has depreciated by 20%. How much will the insurer pay under this policy? A. $3,000. B. $2,500. C. $2,400. D. $1,800. The correct answer is C. The insurer pays actual cash value. Original cost minus depreciation equals $2,400. And since this amount is within the $2,500 silverware sublimit, $2,400 is payable. Reason A is not correct. Reimbursement is based on actual cash value and subject to the sublimit, not the full original cost. Reason B is not correct. Although the sublimit is $2,500 depreciation, reduces the payable amount to $2,400. Reason D is not correct. Depreciation is 20%, so the payable amount is higher than $1,800. Question 4. A homeowner insured under an H05 policy discovers that her diamond necklace valued at $5,000 is stolen from her safe deposit box. The policy's jewelry sublimit is $1,500 and no scheduled personal property endorsement is attached. How will the insurer respond to this claim? A. Pay $1,500 replacement cost. B. Pay $5,000 replacement cost. C. Pay $1,500 actual cash value. D. Deny coverage because a loss occurred off premises. The correct answer is A. Under an H05 policy, personal property losses, including off-premises theft, are covered on a replacement cost basis, and the jewelry sublimit of $1,500 applies. Reason B is not correct. Payment is limited by the $1,500 sublimit, not the full value. Reason C is not correct. H05 provides replacement cost coverage for personal property, not actual cash value. Reason D is not correct. H05 covers theft of personal property anywhere, including off-premises. Question 5. A condominium association levies a $10,000 special assessment against unit owners to repair common area damage not covered by its master policy. A unit owner insured under an H06 policy has loss assessment coverage of $2,000 shown in the declarations. How much will the H06 insurer pay under the loss assessment additional coverage? A. $2,000. B. $1,000. C. $10,000. D. No payment. The correct answer is A. Loss assessment. Additional coverage under H06 pays up to the limit shown in the declarations, $2,000, for assessments charged by the association for losses not covered by the master policy. Reason B is not correct. Although $1,000 is a common default limit, the declarations specify $2,000. Reason C is not correct. Coverage is limited to the declared loss assessment limit, not the full assessment. Reason D is not correct. Loss assessment coverage applies as an additional coverage under H06. Question 6. Which of the following perils is specifically covered under the Dwelling Property Basic Form? DP1. A. Weight of ice, snow, or sleet. B. Vandalism or malicious mischief. C. Internal explosion. D. Theft. The correct answer is C. The Dwelling Property Basic Form, DP1, is a named peril policy that provides coverage only for fire, lightning, and internal explosion. Other perils, such as weight of ice, snow, or sleet, vandalism, and theft are not included unless added by endorsement under broader forms. Reason A is not correct. Weight of ice, snow, or sleet is part of the extended coverage perils on broader forms, not the basic DP1. Reason B is not correct. Vandalism or malicious mischief is excluded under DP1 unless an endorsement adds it on higher-level dwelling forms. Reason D is not correct. Theft is not a basic form peril and is only covered by endorsement on more comprehensive dwelling policies. Question 7. A dwelling insured under a DP2 broad form experienced damage when a washing machine hose suddenly burst, flooding the laundry room. The force of the water damaged the built-in cabinetry and hardwood flooring. According to the DP2 broad form, which loss is covered? A. The cost to repair the washing machine hose only. B. The damage to the cabinetry and hardwood flooring only. C. Both the cost to repair the hose and the damage to the cabinetry and flooring. D. Neither, because appliance failures are excluded under the DP2 form. The correct answer is B. The DP2 broad form's accidental discharge peril covers physical damage caused by sudden discharge of water, but does not cover repair or replacement of the plumbing component that failed. Reason A is not correct. The policy does not cover replacement or repair of the failed hose itself under the accidental discharge peril. Reason C is not correct. While the water damage is covered, the policy excludes repair of the appliance or its components. Reason D is not correct. Mechanical breakdown exclusions do not apply to sudden accidental discharges, only to failures caused by wear or mechanical defect. Question 8. During a severe storm, hail shattered the living room window of a DP3 special form insured dwelling. Subsequent wind-driven rain entered through the broken opening, ruining carpeting and wallboard. Under the DP3 special form, which loss is covered? A. Damage to the window only. B. Both the window breakage and the interior water damage. C. Interior water damage only. D. Neither, because water damage is excluded under DP3. The correct answer is B. Under DP3 open perils, both the direct hail breakage and the resulting water damage are covered, since the breakage is a covered peril and proximate cause links the two losses. Reason A is not correct. Excluding interior damage ignores the proximate cause principle that covers resulting losses from a covered peril. Reason C is not correct. It overlooks that glass breakage itself is a covered loss under the DP3 open perils form. Reason D is not correct. Water damage is not excluded when a covered peril creates an entry point for wind-driven rain. Question 9. Which of the following is not a standard class of property covered under a personal articles floater? A. Jewelry. B. Fine arts. C. Stamp collections. D. Furniture. The correct answer is D. Furniture falls under the dwelling or homeowner's policy and is not one of the specialized classes in a personal articles floater. Reason A is not correct. Jewelry is one of the 9 standard classes insured under a personal articles floater. Reason B is not correct. Fine arts is a recognized class of property eligible for coverage under a personal articles floater. Reason C is not correct. Stamp collections are one of the defined classes covered by a personal articles floater. Question 10. Lucinda has scheduled a pair of diamond earrings under her personal inland marine policy. One earring is lost during transit to a jeweler for cleaning. Which policy condition determines how much the insurer pays for the loss? A. Appraisal condition. B. Bailey coverage condition. C. Pair and set condition. D. Abandonment clause. The correct answer is C. The pair and set condition specifies that when one item from a scheduled pair is lost, the insurer pays the lesser of the cost to replace the entire set or the difference in value before and after the loss of the missing piece. Reason A is not correct. The appraisal condition provides a process for valuing disputed losses, but does not set settlement rules for a lost item in a scheduled pair. Reason B is not correct. The Bailey coverage condition addresses property in the care of a Bailey, not settlement of a lost piece of scheduled jewelry. Reason D is not correct. The abandonment clause deals with the insured's right to abandon property to the insurer and does not apply to pair scheduling losses. Question 11. Which of the following is a requirement for a community to qualify for participation in the National Flood Insurance Program? A. Adopt and enforce floodplain management regulations that meet NFIP criteria. B. Provide flood insurance education workshops to at-risk property owners. C. Develop and maintain a municipal emergency evacuation plan. D. Implement watershed management strategies for flood control. The correct answer is A. The correct answer is that communities must adopt and enforce floodplain management regulations that meet NFIP criteria, ensuring that development in flood-prone areas complies with established standards to reduce flood risk. Reason B is not correct. Providing education workshops is beneficial but not a mandatory NFIP participation requirement. Reason C is not correct. Maintaining emergency evacuation plans is important for public safety, but is not required by NFIP for community participation. Reason D is not correct. Implementing watershed management strategies is a flood mitigation measure, but not a condition for NFIP participation. Question 12. A homeowner has an NFIP policy with $150,000 building coverage and $50,000 contents coverage. During a flood, the built-in kitchen cabinets, a freestanding washer, a living room sofa, and a collection of jewelry are damaged. Under NFIP definitions, which loss would be covered under the building coverage portion but not by contents coverage? A. The built-in kitchen cabinets. B. The freestanding washer. C. The living room sofa. D. The jewelry collection. The correct answer is A. Built-in kitchen cabinets are permanently attached fixtures and thus part of the building. The other items are personal property covered only under contents coverage. Reason B is not correct. A freestanding washer is personal property, not a permanently attached fixture. Reason C is not correct. A sofa is a movable personal item and is covered under contents. Reason D is not correct. Jewelry is personal property subject to contents coverage sublimits. Question 13. Which type of damages is expressly excluded from coverage under the Part A insuring agreement of the personal auto policy? A. Loss of consortium damages. B. Punitive or exemplary damages. C. Prejudgment interest awarded against an insured. D. Contractual liability assumed by the insured under a contract. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is punitive or exemplary damages, which are expressly excluded under the Part A insuring agreement. Prejudgment interest is covered as part of supplementary payments. Loss of consortium is included within bodily injury coverage, and contractual liability is excluded under a separate contractual liability exclusion, rather than by the insuring agreement itself. Reason A is not correct. Loss of consortium damages are considered part of bodily injury and are covered under the insuring agreement. Reason C is not correct. Prejudgment interest is paid as a supplementary payment and is not excluded by the insuring agreement. Reason D is not correct. Contractual liability is excluded, but that exclusion is found elsewhere in the policy, not in the Part A insuring agreement. Question 14. Which of the following accurately distinguishes split liability limits from a combined single limit in a personal auto liability policy? A. Applies only to bodily injury coverages while property damage is covered separately. Combined single limit applies only to property damage. B. Merges bodily injury and property damage coverages into a combined limit. Combined single limit divides property damage into per-person sublimits. C. Specifies separate maxima for per-person bodily injury, per-accident bodily injury, and property damage. Combined single limit offers one unified limit for all liabilities per accident. D. Uses a single per-person limit for bodily injury and property damage, whereas combined single limit uses three separate per-accident limits. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is that split limits assign separate maximums for bodily injury per person, bodily injury per accident, and property damage, whereas a combined single limit provides one overall limit for all liability exposures arising from a covered accident. Reason A is not correct. Split limits apply to both bodily injury and property damage, not solely to bodily injury. Reason B is not correct. This reverses the definitions. Split limits separate coverages, not merge them, and combined single limit does not create sublimits for property damage. Reason D is not correct. This option incorrectly swaps the characteristics of split limits and combined single limit. Question 15. After a rear-end collision, the insured is treated at a hospital and later receives a series of chiropractic adjustments for spinal alignment. Under the personal auto policy's medical payments coverage, which expense would be reimbursed? A. Fees paid to a licensed chiropractor for treatments. B. Payments to a cosmetic surgeon for scar reduction. C. Compensation for lost income due to missed work. D. Retrofitting the insured vehicle with safety equipment. The correct answer is A. This option is correct because medical payments coverage reimburses necessary medical services, including licensed chiropractic treatments regardless of fault. Reason B is not correct. Cosmetic surgery for scar reduction is considered elective and not a necessary medical expense covered under medical payments. Reason C is not correct. Lost income is excluded because medical payments coverage does not reimburse wage losses. Reason D is not correct. Vehicle modifications are property losses and not medical expenses under medical payments coverage. Question 16. While backing out of his driveway, the insured scrapes a neighbor's fence, causing significant damage. Under the personal auto policy's property damage liability coverage, which condition must be satisfied before the insurer will respond? A. A police report is filed within the policy period. B. A written notice of claim is submitted within 10 days. C. The insured is legally liable for the fence damage. D. An estimate for repairs is approved by the insurer. The correct answer is C. This option is correct because property damage liability coverage applies only when the insured becomes legally liable for damage to someone else's property resulting from an auto accident. Reason A is not correct. Filing a police report is not a coverage trigger for property damage liability under the PAP. Reason B is not correct. Submitting a notice of claim is a policy condition but not the trigger for liability coverage. Reason D is not correct. Repair estimates relate to claim handling, not the coverage trigger, which is legal liability. Question 17. Maria, a passenger in a borrowed vehicle, suffers bodily injury when struck by a hit-and-run driver. Under the personal auto policy's uninsured motorist coverage for bodily injury, which condition must be met before coverage applies? A. The at-fault driver flees the scene without identification. B. The insured was struck while not wearing a seatbelt. C. The accident is reported to police within 2 hours. D. The at-fault driver lacks any liability insurance. The correct answer is D. This option is correct because uninsured motorist coverage applies when the at-fault driver does not maintain a liability bond or policy at the time of the accident. Reason A is not correct. A hit and run without identification may complicate claims, but the key trigger is absence of liability insurance. Reason B is not correct. Seatbelt usage affects benefits but is not a trigger for uninsured motorist coverage. Reason C is not correct. Timely reporting is a policy requirement, but not the core coverage trigger for uninsured motorist. Question 18. An insured's vehicle is struck by an underinsured driver carrying $25,000 bodily injury limits. The insured's own policy includes $50,000 underinsured motorist bodily injury coverage. After the at-fault insurer pays its limits, how much will the insured's underinsured coverage pay? A. $25,000. B. $50,000. C. $75,000. D. $100,000. The correct answer is A. This option is correct because underinsured motorist coverage pays the difference between the insured's limit and the at-fault driver's paid limit. $50,000 minus $25,000 equals $25,000. Reason B is not correct. Paying the full underinsured limit ignores the offset of the at-fault insurer's payment. Reason C is not correct. Combining both limits miscalculates the required difference payment. Reason D is not correct. Doubling limits is incorrect since payment is limited to the difference, not a sum of limits. Question 19. During a highway accident in a covered auto, the driver is arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence, and bail is set at $500. The personal auto policy includes standard supplementary payments. Under these payments, what amount will the insurer reimburse for the bail bond? A. Reimburse the full $500 bail bond amount. B. Reimburse up to $250 for the bail bond itself. C. Reimburse only the premium paid for the bail bond. D. Reimburse up to $100 per day for loss of earnings during court attendance. The correct answer is B. The correct answer is to reimburse up to $250 for the bail bond itself. Under a personal auto policy's supplementary payments, the insurer will pay bail bond amounts required because of a covered auto accident up to $250 per bail bond. Reason A is not correct. This is incorrect because bail bond coverage under supplementary payments is limited to $250 per bail bond, not the full bail amount. Reason C is not correct. This is incorrect because the insurer reimburses the bail bond amount up to the limit rather than only the premium paid. Reason D is not correct. This is incorrect because loss of earnings is covered separately under supplementary payments up to a daily limit, not as bail bond reimbursement. Question 20. Under a personal auto policy, which of the following individuals is classified as a family member of the named insured? A. The spouse of the named insured. B. A live-in housekeeper employed by the insured who performs household duties. C. A friend who boards at the insured's home for a weekly fee. D. A niece, age 22, who is a full-time college student, living away temporarily but maintaining the insured's home as her principal residence. The correct answer is D. The correct answer is the relative whose full-time student status and maintenance of the insured's home as principal residence fits the family member definition. A housekeeper, a boarding friend, and the spouse are not classified as family members under the personal auto policy definitions. Reason A is not correct. A spouse is covered as an insured under the policy but is not classified as a family member. Reason B is not correct. A housekeeper is not related by blood, marriage, or adoption, and thus does not meet the family member criteria. Reason C is not correct. A boarding friend lacks the required familial relationship to be considered a family member. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below, we read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.